Since the appeal filing, the applicant, the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, and the Los Angeles Housing Department have developed a modified condition number 12, which continues to require the affordable dwelling units. All of the parties are in agreement with the proposed condition, and Council District 11 has reviewed the proposed condition as also in support. Therefore, staff recommends the following: deny the appeal as filed by the applicant, approve the appeal as filed by Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, sustain the action of the West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission, modify condition number 12 of tentative track 60907 as proposed by both the applicant and the appellant, adopt the findings of tentative track 60907-M1 as adopted by the West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission, and adopt mitigated negative declaration ENV-2004-1396-MND. Now, I do have representatives from both the applicant and the Legal Aid Foundation and the Housing Department here to answer any questions regarding the condition.
Great, thank you. Does either the applicant or representative from the Legal Aid Foundation wish to speak? Everyone's okay? Everyone's happy? Very good. We're all whole. Anyone from the council office wish to speak? Nope. You guys okay? Everything cool? All right. Any questions or comments on this item?
Move the item as recommended.
All right. We'll move the item. Second. And so ordered. Thank you. Thank you very much. This takes care of item number 12. We are moving the item, adopting the recommendations as outlined by the Planning Department representative.
Correct. To deny the appeal.
Should I repeat those? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to deny the appeal, Councilman, to approve the appeal by Legal Aid, sustain the action of the West LA APC, and modify condition 12.
And adopt the findings of the
West Los Angeles.
West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission, and adopt the MOD as an environmental review document as the number cited by the Planning Department. Okay. Thank you. Item number 1. Will you please read that item into the record?
Councilman, item 1 is a motion, Luisa Reyes, and instructed planning to prepare correct project description and grant clauses as it relates to the conditions of approval for a mixed-use project at 695 Santa Fe Avenue in CD 14.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Theodore Irving with the planning staff, and I'm here to respond to the request to correct the actions of the City Council of its decision on January 18, 2008. This is a mixed-use project, and there was an approval of an appeal granted by the City Council, but there were some discrepancies in the final decision letter that was issued. And so that motion sought to correct those mistakes. In summary, we had to add language that referred to an extra 5,000 square feet of commercial area. We had to move the grant clause relative to the zoning administrator's action into the first grant clause, which for the conditional use for live workspaces. That language read the reduction of the required side yard setback to permit a 5 feet setback in lieu of a required 10 feet setback. The other language that was moved from out of the zoning administrator's grant clause was to reduce the rear yard setback area to permit a 0-foot setback in lieu of the required 15-foot setback. And we just eliminated any reference to the zoning administrator's grant clause. In addition, there was a request to add language relative to the allowance for the affordable units, and so that was condition 14. That was not included in the council's decision. We've added that in. That reads, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall designate and reserve 15% of the units at below market income level, consisting of 5% low income and 10% workforce, as defined by ordinance 179076. And that is to read, prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy for any dwelling units on the subject property, The applicant shall execute and record a purchase and rental agreement running with the land to the satisfaction of the housing department, binding the applicant and any subsequent property owner to reserve 15% of the units, again, 5 for lower income and 10% for workforce housing as affordable dwelling units for purchase price to be determined by the LA Housing Department. So that's essentially the correction that were made for the zoning administrator's grant. And again, part of the action we dealt with an appeal of the tract. Essentially, that language was to correct any reference to moderate housing so that it read workforce housing. So that language was corrected in the grant clause, the language was corrected in the conditions, and that language was corrected in any of the findings. Also, there was a request to add a condition, remove a condition that required no loading dock be provided. And there was a correction made to indicate there were 361 parking spaces, 350 for residential use and 10 for commercial use. And there was also a request to modify a Bureau of Engineering condition, and that specific condition was for condition I-1AB, and that was for the suitable resurfacing of the existing pavements to maintain an existing 17-foot wide singular vehicle lane and provide a new 8-foot wide parking lane. I'm sorry, that was for B, and then A was for the concrete curb gutters and a 10-foot wide concrete sidewalk adjacent to the curb with tree wells, and in addition 10-foot wide landscape strip for additional trees behind the sidewalk. So that's essentially all of the corrections that were made. We don't have a formal report to turn in. We were just asked to make those corrections to the council action. So those corrections have been made, and we have a report to file with you.
Great, thank you. So these are just corrections being made to the record that will keep the record consistent with the actions taken and what needs to be reported in writing. This is a project that I fully support that is being the donor for some time. Do you think, in your opinion, that we're doing everything possible to expedite this and move it forward?
Yeah, we've done everything possible. I've sat down and worked with over the past year. Like I said, it's had its hurdles. So over the past year, I've worked with the applicant and his representative. So we think we got all the corrections made that meets the intent of the city council. So we are clear of that.
Okay.
But you point up something that I think we need to address, which is the hurdles that they've dealt with over the past year or so. Okay, I think what we need to do at this point in time is to extend the effective date of this grant. It would only be fair to them. They've had to go through city redevelopment agencies processes, and there have been a number of other challenges relative to this project. And in trying to meet those challenges, they have not been able to take any action on either of these two grants. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be appropriate at this time to go ahead and extend the effective date to allow them a comparable amount of time to complete these conditions and meet the intent of the council.
Yes, do we specify the effective date, or do we just mention that we would extend it?
Yeah, the effective date could be the date that the council takes an action.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Thank you very much. And I would like to move to adopt those corrections and the recommendation from the planning staff. But I do need some direction from my city attorney, who is currently speaking with somebody. So whenever she's free and available, I will like to draw her attention. We need some language to move this item forward today. Do we need anything? I understand there's some discrepancy with the way it was posted, and we need to, if there was, we need to move forward.
Jerry Bridge, City Attorney's Office. No, it will go on to the council agenda, and at the time it is set for council, the agenda will accurately describe it as a report from the planning department making these changes, and we can work with the city clerk to make sure the language is appropriate.
Thank you very much. Second, can you move forward? Thank you. So ordered is corrected by the planning staff, and the recommended suggestion to move the effective date. Thank you. Next item.
It will be item 2, Councilman. This is the reappointment of Ms. Camilla Townsend to the Harbor Area APC.
Is Ms. Camilla Townsend here?
Yeah, she just arrived.
Oh, she just arrived. There she is. Okay, Good afternoon, Ms. Townsend. Would you mind stepping up to the microphone and welcome to the Planning, Land Use, and Management Committee? Now, you a new appointment or continuation?
Continuation.
Continuation. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, and if you could just state why you wish to continue on this commission and anything you've learned and anything you'd like to share with the world.
Well, basically, this is my fourth commission over many, many years for the City of Los Angeles, so it's a bigger picture than just the one commission for me. Started with Mayor Bradley and then Mayor Reardon on the Children, Family, and Youth Committee, and then the Harbor Planning, the Harbor Commission under Mayor Hahn, and now this commission, the Harbor Area Planning Commission under Mayor Villaraigosa. So it's for me always been a privilege to serve the city in some capacity, some volunteer capacity, and I'm always happy to continue. I have a strong connection with the community that the city serves in Council District 15, and it's really important that we help our community members to understand the policies and procedures and what is there for them and what isn't there for them as community members. And so I see my role as a facilitator to do that actually in all the commissions that I've served on. So I'm happy to continue on in this one.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you for your service. I know you served on the President's Joint Commission on School Governance.
Yes, thank you. That was the one I forgot it, and you certainly were involved with that one. Thank you. And
we were able to pass Measure L, with which the voters approved and implemented an ethics code along with reporting procedures that hadn't existed at the school district and other items such as that to improve transparency on the going-ons of the school district. But a lot more work needs to go on there. But I don't think there's ever been as much discussion about the governance of LESD as that commission did. You and your colleagues certainly put together a great report that needs to be looked at again. So thank you for your work on that. And also my wife worked for some time for the Commission for Children, Youth, and Families, and so I know we have a strong connection there. So thank you for your service.
You were on the Board of Education then, I remember that too. So thank you so much. It's amazing how history comes back. Yeah. Pretty soon I'm going to be too old for all of this, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Kretz or comments? No. Thank you. So motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. So ordered. Thank you very much. And Ms. Townsend, if you could remember to turn in our City Ethics Commission conflict of interest forms if you haven't already, or the clerk could let you know about that. Okay, thank you very much. Next item.
That would be item 3, Councilman. It's a report from Building and Safety. It's a draft ordinance, basically to achieve full cost recovery as to the fees implemented by Building and Safety. And it's also been referred to Budget Committee.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Andrew Alman, General Manager, Building and Safety, and I have my colleagues, Mr. Ray Chan and David Lara from Building and Safety here. The item in front of you is to make some adjustment in the Building and Safety fees to bring it to the level of full cost recovery. Some of the fees in Building and Safety have not been adjusted for more than 12 years. More than 12 years. Some of it as long as 18, 17 years, going back to 1992. This is an attempt to make an adjustment on those fees to increase them by about 30% to bring it to the level of full cost recovery. There was a period of time after I had come on board 12 years ago, we did a number of things to improve the efficiency of the department by becoming more efficient, doing better, faster, cheaper, by using automation and other tools. But finally the inflation and the CPI has caught up to us. The CPI has gone up by the neighborhood of 40%. So this is an attempt to make an adjustment on that. Allow me to explain basically what these fees or what these issues entail. There is 3 parts to these fees. Part 1 is the building permit fees and building plan check fees. That is approximately 70% of the department revenue and functions. We are not touching those. Building permit and building plan check, we are leaving it alone. This ordinance does not impact that. Part 2 is the plumbing, mechanical, electrical fees, permit and plan check. Those fees are based on a flat amount per $square foot. Those fees are being adjusted to the tune of approximately 30% on the average. it is basically to bring it up to the cost recovery. Again, I want to remind you that the CPI adjustment in last 12 years has been about 35, 36%. So we are adjusting those fees to the tune of 30% to become cost recovery. Third part, when the third part is just a small fraction of the department, is things like non-compliance fees or other things, and those are being adjusted to bring it closer to the cost recovery level. I want to share with you, as part of this cost study, we compared our fees to the 23 other jurisdictions, including the jurisdictions nearby, such as Glendale, Burbank, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, and so on. And our fees previously was well below the fees of the other jurisdictions. Even after the adjustment that we are making, our fees is going to be among the lowest. Basically, we were way below the lowest fees. Now we have brought it to the level of one of the lower fees and well below the median. So although we are adjusting the fees, we are bringing it to the level of the lowest neighboring jurisdictions. I'm saying that for the purpose of comparison because I want to make sure these fee adjustments do not impact economic development, because economic development, particularly in this economy, is very important to us, all of us. And also, in terms of some of the questions which has been raised, building and safety meets all 100% of state mandated timelines in terms of the turnaround of plans, permits, and so on. As a matter of fact, we have maintained some of the best services of any building department, not only in Southern California, but nationwide. We are doing 99.9% of our inspections within 24 hours, plan checks, and so on accordingly. With that, I want to again say this is an adjustment in some of the building and safety fees to just catch up to inflation. We have not adjusted these fees for 12 years. Perhaps you say, why not so long? Well, because we were so efficient and so good that we didn't need to adjust the fees. Finally, the inflation at some point catches up to us. Also, this is done per direction of the Budget and Finance Committee of City Council and the City Council as a whole to look at our fees and look at the cost recovery of our fees, and particularly the fees which have not been adjusted in an extended period of time, and bring them back. So it is per that direction of this budget season that we are bringing these back. Again, in the interest of time, I will refer to the package in front of you. I know that Chairman Ed Reyes is not here, but I would like to share with you, I see that Rebecca from her staff is here. I had a meeting with Councilmember Ed Reyes yesterday, and at least my impression was that he was receptive to the idea and supportive of the idea. Again, I cannot speak on his behalf, but he had a few questions. We addressed it, and it seemed like he was satisfied. With that, I'm available to answer any question, as is Mr. David Lara and Mr. Ray Chan.
Thank you very much. We have some public comments cards. We'll first listen to the public
comments.
I will
be available.
We'll open it up for questions. Thank you. Veronica Becerra.
Good morning, good afternoon, council members. I would just like to say that I am a developer's representative in the City of Los Angeles and a developer in the City of Los Angeles for over 20 years. And the service from Building and Safety has been outstanding. Every time we have come forth to case management or any portion of Building and Safety, we have always been satisfied with the work, and I support whatever their requests are here today.
Great. Thank you very much. Next speaker is Kimberlina Wettam. And please correct me on the name.
Good afternoon. Kimberlina Wettam. That was pretty good. I'm here to support the proposal for the fee increases and to reiterate that one of the key components for the type of work that I do, I also represent multiple different projects in the City of Los Angeles, maintain consistent service from the department, and Building and Safety continues to reduce their time for plan check, for inspections, resolution to problems, issuance of certificate of occupancy, and we therefore support this request for a fee increase to maintain continued service during this economic downturn.
Great. Thank you very much. Next speaker, Rick Bosek. Or Borsell. Can't quite read the writing.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm here to support the motion.
Your name again, please?
Pardon me?
Your name?
Rick Bosek, President of the MCIA. We represent over 1,000 inspectors employed by the city. Many work at the Department of Building and Safety, such as myself. I want to speak about a service that the people of the community have come to expect through City Hall, through the Department of Building and Safety, and that is the service we provide of protecting people and providing the rapid inspection services. We find it increasingly difficult to continue to provide these services when we're working off of a fee structure that was meant for the 1990s. Fires, 85% of fires are electrical in nature. We prevent those by making sure the electrical is done right. When you turn on the water faucet, you can drink the water without worries of cross-contamination. So we're asking that these fee increases be approved by this committee as well as the council so that we can continue to provide the level of safety and inspection response time that the people have come to expect from us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Mr. Kratz?
Yeah, I just had a question for the department on non-compliance fees. In my district, there are a lot of complaints about difficulty in getting compliance, and I'm wondering, in the case of most of these fees, are they applied only one time, and what happens when the violation is ongoing for many weeks or months? Will one application be it, or are they sometimes on a day-by-day basis? How's it work?
That's an excellent question, such a good question that I'm going to ask assistance of the city attorney in responding to that, because that is one of the things that we are hoping as part of the new ordinance to address.
Jerry Burge, City Attorney's Office, will look at that and review that question. We haven't reviewed it as of yet to see whether or not we could include as part of a new regulation a non-compliance fee every day. I suspect we can, but I would certainly want to be able to review that.
I know we do it in some cases, and it obviously would greatly assist us in actually achieving compliance if people got hit by that on a daily basis.
If I may, I would like to add a comment about that, council member. One of the areas that the increase in fees is more than 30% is the issue of non-compliance fees. The non-compliance fees was a token $100, $150, and people laughed that off.
Exactly.
And now we have gone up considerably per direction of the council Budget and Finance Committee, and looking at the fact that each day constitutes a different count would be another thing that we are going to look at. Also, I want to emphasize that those non-compliance fees that we are talking about, unlike the permit fees, they go to the general fund, and they support the code enforcement. And as you well know, the code enforcement function in building and safety has been reduced from about 200 staff members to 100 staff members over the last 5 years. So that is where any help in terms of financing would help, and that is part of what we are going to use to recover some of the costs associated with that function.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is simply it's a full cost recovery, correct? And you have studies to justify the increases that would show that the time and effort involved in this is sufficient for the fees, correct? And you will have also reviews to determine how the fees are doing every 3 years, is that correct?
That's correct. That is another feature of the ordinance which is being considered. And my request to you in terms of the timeliness of this, because every day that passes by, our opportunity time shrinks, is your committee recommend this as approval and move it on to the Budget and Finance Committee, which will have further discussion on it.
Great, thank you. So I'd like to move this item and approve the Department of Building and Safety report and recommendations.
Second.
And request that the city attorney prepare the ordinance. And third, instruct the CAO and the Department of Building and Safety to prepare the CAO report for Budget and Finance Committee. Great, excellent, so ordered. Next item?
The next item, Councilman, would be the public hearing for item 11, which is the appeal by Thomas Kilty.
Well, actually, are we 9 and 10?
9 and 10? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman. I thought you... Item 9 is the appeal by Miguel Mendoza, and he's appealing the action of the Planning Commission, which disapproved a conditional use permit for a recycling buyback center in CD 7.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Dan O'Donnell with the City Planning Department's Valley Bureau. This is an appeal of a denial for a conditional use permit to operate a recycle buyback center in the C2 zone. The property is located on Parthenia, just west of Sepulveda. It's a commercial center. There are retail and dry cleaning establishments fronting Parthenia. This recycle center operation is located in the rear parking lot, approximately 100 feet from Parthenia. In disapproving this, the Planning Commission stated that it couldn't make any of the 4 necessary conditional use findings in the affirmative. It's not proper in relation to the adjacent uses. It's within 10 feet. It has a large cargo container which it stores recycled material in. That's within 10 feet of a 3-story motel on the other side of a 6-foot-high block wall. The public hearing I conducted, there were the motel owner who complained bitterly about noise, flies, trash, and greatly increased traffic in the area. So there are situations in which a buyback center can be placed by right in the C2 zone, but you have to meet certain conditions. This project does not meet those, and so the Commission could not make the necessary findings. We're therefore recommending disapproval of the conditional use request.
Great, thank you.
If I may add, I have some Department of Building and Safety inspectors here if you need any
If we have any questions
of them.
Okay, great, thank you. Armand Sayan. And Mr. Sayan, you are the representative for the appellant, Miguel Mendoza. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Honorary committee members, first of all, I want to talk about the history of the permitting process right now. I have over here Exhibit B that I want to hand out. What it shows is that we made the application in February of 2007, and Building and Safety Enforcement came by with the notice to comply in May of 2007. However, once they noticed a year afterwards that we have applied for a CUP, they immediately rescinded that order to comply, and therefore it was in compliance at the time. Now, the City Planning Commission made their decision based on the fact that they thought the operation was illegal at the time, and that kind of gave them a psychological negative effect, thinking as to that operation was illegal, and now we wanted to legalize it. Second of all, I want to talk about some of the arguments made by the neighbor over there, one of which was odors. I have a report over here, staff investigation report from the City Planning Department, Exhibit A, which makes no remarks as to what odors were made. In fact, it was mentioning that, I quote, the operation is inconspicuous and almost camouflaged to the area, so it's almost non-apparent. As far as noise goes, noise reductions, I know the neighbor was complaining about glass being broken and such. We were willing to make the necessary changes so that this would not be an issue. We could change the operating and such to have it done. And as far as toxins being generated by a recycling center, that's completely ridiculous. That's one of the arguments made by the complaints over there. I don't know if you've ever dealt with cans and bottles, but there's no toxins being generated by that. And I also have Exhibit C that I want to hand out is testimonies by the neighboring businesses and the church supporting the operation in that area. These are directly adjacent to the operation right now. One thing that you need to really consider is that this operation is a vital service to the community in that area. If the city is really considering to be forward and to be a green city and, you know, make its way to a zero-waste city, it needs to consider all of these facts and allow these types of facilities to operate within the city, just to have that level of service allowed.
Thank you. I have one question. Your appeal states that the case was misunderstood by the hearing office and was misrepresented in the planning department staff report. Can you explain that?
Yes, I have a staff report over here. One misrepresentation made was basically taken from the complaint made by that one motel owner. And it was basically copy-pasted exactly from their letter stating all the complaints made about them. Those were the only negative aspects in this report. And that was taken by the City Planning Commission as the most important part. Although the recommendation for this report was actually for approving it with a trial period to allow us to amend all the things we need to be in compliance with the CUP requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Faisal Al-Sari from Councilmember Alarcon's office, Council District 7. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Faisal Al-Sari, Councilmember Alarcon's planning deputy. We agree with the City Planning Commission on this item, and this committee should deny this appeal. Unfortunately, this is just a business that's in the wrong location. We definitely support recycling buyback centers, but unfortunately, this is literally within 20 feet from somebody's window, and that proximity to residential use does not is not suitable for this type of use, and therefore we're requesting that this committee deny this appeal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Building and Safety.
Yes, good afternoon. Frank Bush. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Code Enforcement Bureau of Building and Safety. I just want to clarify one thing. I'm sorry I didn't get the gentleman's name that was here, the appellant, speaking. He said that our order, when they filed for the CUP, our order was rescinded and that he was then in compliance. That is incorrect. What happens is the enforcement stops once they file because the CUP is part of their appeal process, so the enforcement is just put into abeyance until a decision is made on there. So they have not been in compliance, and we continue to have to deal with the trash and debris and some of the nuisance issues on the property.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any questions or comments? Nope. Okay, I'd like to move that we deny the appeal.
Second.
Second, so ordered. Thank you very much. Next item.
That would be item 10, Councilman. This is an appeal filed by Vansan Vandeman and Pat Dulce, who's the owner. They're appealing the action of the zoning administrator as it relates to conditions that were imposed on a recycling center known as West LA Recycling in CD10.
Good afternoon, council members. Lourdes Green, Office of Zoning Administration, Department of City Planning. This is a revocation and nuisance review. It's the fourth review of an RV case. It originally began in 1996. Subsequent reviews were conducted in 1998 and 2005. The recycling center has operated under about 12 conditions since 2005 regarding cleanup hours of operation, storage of items, and graffiti. And earlier last year, the operator filed a required review based on the 2005 action for the fourth review. Let me just emphasize that under the prior action, there had been some found general compliance with the conditions of operation. At the fourth review, which was the last hearing on this, there was a lot of community input and testimony from LAPD, from community organizations, from block associations, from council office testifying with concerns regarding the impact, and mostly a lot of these due to the outside influences also by vagrants, loiterers, people who are coming with the shopping carts cruising through the neighborhood. The recycling center is also across a liquor store, so there is sort of a symbiotic relationship created that reinforces some of this cross traffic. What was evident was that the conditions that had been in place before probably did not address some of these new issues that had been brought up again. It was also clear that the operator had complied with, in general, with most of the conditions that have been imposed. And although the community really wanted to revoke the use, based on our findings and the city's findings for revocation, there wasn't sufficient evidence to be able to revoke. Once you revoke something, you have to be able to show evidence that there's been a lack of willingness to comply with conditions, and that the city has taken every governmental effort to improve something, and these have failed. So the outcome of the hearing was that the community was more than willing to meet with the operator and try to come up with conditions, and in fact, they did this. There was a subsequent meeting. Neighborhood council representatives were there, council office, LAPD, block associations, the operator, and out of that, there were developed certain proposed conditions having to do really with lighting, security, camera surveillance, greening, and improving of the facility. These were submitted to my office, and those were incorporated, those that were legally feasible to be incorporated as new conditions. One of the conditions that I further refined was a security patrol requirement instead of a security guard, to provide for 3 visits per day by a security patrol that would at least walk for 15 minutes around the perimeter. And this was mostly based on the fact that since the last hearing, most of the arrest reports indicated that there had been arrests done in the sidewalk, or people that were sitting in the sidewalk that were in possession of drugs or other items of such issues, and really some sort of presence of a security needed to be done. The appeal that has been filed by the operator, at least what I received, was very brief. It consisted of one sentence essentially indicating that they felt that the measures really are measures that need to be done by LAPD. There may have been subsequent information provided by the operator or appellant, but I haven't been copied on anything. I'm assuming that more of their concerns are probably with the camera surveillance, maybe, and the patrol. These really are key components to trying to mitigate some of the impacts that are associated with the use. So urge, that they would be retained. I know the operator will probably address those issues. I know LAPD and council office are here, so they will probably verbalize more of the concerns of the community. And at this point, if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer, or come back and answer when you have any.
We'll go through the comment cards first. Thank you. The appellant, Bangsant Bandoham.
My name is Michael Harper. I'm here representing both the owner of the business as well as the owner of the property.
Great. Can you repeat your name again? Michael Harper?
Michael Harper, H-A-R-P-E-R.
Okay. Welcome.
And thank you very much. We actually did submit more of an addendum titled A Letter of Protest and Objection to Conditions on July 7th through the clerk's office. I don't know if you have a copy of that. Basically, what we highlighted was the additional new conditions, items 13 through 17, I believe, more appropriately. Make a long story short, what we have here is we have an attempt. I understand the neighborhood's concern about crime and preventing that crime, but I think you're picking on the wrong party or parties. We've done a kind of a ballpark estimate in good faith on what it would cost to implement these 4 or 5 conditions that are now seeking to be imposed upon the tenant and the owner, and it comes out to roughly an additional $100,000 a year. For example, just on the security alone, you're looking at $58,200, and that's the low end of what it would cost to have a security service patrolling as suggested by this memorandum. The owner, Pat Dulce, is more than willing to sit down with anyone who would like to work on this project, make the property available for installing security devices and having tape recording or video devices installed, etc. But I think it's unfair to impose a cost of about $100,000 on both Mr. Dulce and the business owner to secure an area that really is, if there's any cause for the blight, it's the liquor store that is across the street and down the block adjacent to this property. The liquor store sells liquor to whoever comes in and buys the liquor, and those folks come over across the way and find shade wherever they might find shade, sit down and have a few beers or whatever they're going to consume. It has nothing to do with the recycling service that's provided by the business owner, and has nothing to do with Mr. Dulce's property. We are concerned about crime in that area, and we're more than willing to work with the city and work with the neighbors to stop that, but we shouldn't be asked to bear the brunt of the cost, and that's really what our appeal is about. We would ask you to either allow us to work more closely with the neighbors or neighborhood to get a more better consensus going on how this cost is going to be shared, or just flat deny these proposed conditions, the modifications. So with that in mind, I do have some photographs of the area if you'd like to see those. One of the areas, one of the concerns about this area is they wanted additional lighting, and these photographs, if I may, show the tall lampposts that are around the property.
Sir, if you're going to speak, if you could speak into the microphone, because this committee is being heard on audio throughout the building, and
the photographs I've just handed the clerk really show the lampposts in the around the business itself, and how during night this area is fairly well lit. There's not a whole lot of improvement that can be done. These are fairly strong lighting systems. They seem to be in working order. And the area itself, there's nothing that these two businesses and the owner can really do short of going out of business. If you're asking them to front $100,000 to stop the crime that's on the public streets in that neighborhood without sharing those costs with the surrounding neighbors, then I'm afraid that my client is going to have to go out of business, and my landlord is going to have to find another tenant for another business. This recycling business is provides a public service, and I think it's an appropriate business, and I would hope that you would take into consideration the costs that are involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Officer Biondo.
Good afternoon, council members. Officer John Biondo from Southwest Area Los Angeles Police Department. I'm the senior lead officer who, one of my responsibilities is to cover the area that the property in question is located in. And I'm here simply to support the denial of appeal for the item in question, and support the council member as well as the residents in the area.
And your reasons for the support of the denial of the appeal?
Primarily because of the property is a nuisance location. I've made dozens of arrests for narcotics, prostitution, loitering, drinking in public around that location, and I've found through my investigations that many of the individuals who are coming to and from that location or loitering in and around that location are involved in other kinds of crimes in the area, whether it be a burglary for motor vehicles or burglary of residences, that types of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hattie Babb. Hattie Babb.
Hello, everyone. I'm also opposed to the extension of this appeal, and because I'm part of the neighborhood council, West Adams Neighborhood Council, and it's a big concern primarily because this has been going on since '96. You know, he had requirements to follow, and we're still back at it. We still have complaints, and he needs to comply to the '96 agreement that he had, and he's not doing that. And not only that, I don't know whether anybody is aware of it, but I'm aware of it because of the district attorney came to one of our neighborhood council meetings a few years back, maybe about 5 years, and he explained to us that he was closing down that recycling center. Why? Because What he was doing, instead of giving people cash for their cans or bottles, he was giving them coupons to go across the street to PG's liquor store to cash in. And that's why he was originally closed down. So he did have something to do with the liquor store.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Babb.
Thank you.
Albert Lard from Council District 10, Councilmember Herb Wesson's office.
Council members, good afternoon. I'm Albert Lord, Field Deputy for the Councilmember Herb Wesson, and I'm here to report the Council's office supports the findings of this committee and the community and request this board to deny the appeal.
So the council member's office is requesting that we deny the appeal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. If I could ask the appellants a question. You have both from from a member of the neighborhood council in the area and also a member of the planning department come up and say that the issues surrounding this facility have gone on for many years, that there's been non-compliance with several conditions, and it appears to me that at this point they're putting in conditions to say, look, we've had it, let's put in these other conditions so that we could make sure that things are run appropriately there and it's not a nuisance to the community. Any response to reasons why you may not have complied with the other conditions?
Well, first of all, I think that from what I can read, it appears that we've actually complied substantially with everything that has been asked. These are just new conditions that are in addition to the past conditions. But the young lady who spoke here from the Neighborhood Watch, our community, she was speaking apparently of the previous owner 5 years ago or 6 years ago, or whenever that owner was around. He may have given coupons, but the owner today is sitting right here. He's never given out any coupons to anyone to go across the street and purchase liquor. So I don't know where they're getting their information. I don't know what district attorney person came to the meeting and spoke about what. I don't know exactly what they were saying, but the owner is sitting right here, and he can affirmatively deny that that charge about giving coupons to anyone and going across the street. The neighborhood is a neighborhood that is with businesses that have been there for years and years and years, and there's no question that there, from time to time, there's going to be some, persons that are not well liked around the neighborhood, but it certainly isn't my clients. They're not attracting those people. They're not. They may have property that these people walk across or maybe lean against, but it's not my clients that are attracting these people to this area. And I don't know why they're going to be strapped with a burden of a security system, a video system, and being a watchdog for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Ms. Kretz? Okay, we could, I'd like to move that we deny the appeal.
I'll second that.
Second. So ordered. Next item.
Councilman, it would be the public hearing for item 11 for the 178-unit affordable housing project in CD 11.
This will be a public hearing. Are you with the planning department?
Yes.
Yes. We will hear just from the public speakers, and we do have quite a bit of them. We could give them all 1 minute each, please, and we'll go from there. Again, this item will be heard again July 28th. It's being continued. At the request of Mr. Koretz, we are allowing the public to speak here today. The first speaker is Ava Stone.
Made sure that the loudest one got heard first, huh? Thanks a lot for letting me speak. My husband's father bought our home in March of 1951, 68 years ago. We've lived in the neighborhood all this time. We are on the first street south of the proposed housing project. I'm not opposed to senior housing. I mean, I am a senior. I have 5 gorgeous grandchildren to prove that. But I am opposed to the developer's intention of building a 5-story building which is above the residential zoning laws of which the developers received a variance. Also, the developers received a doubling of the resident density of 100% and lot variations that are unprecedented in this community. This is a precedent-setting issue as far as development in this community, which may allow others to do the same. Also, let it be known that the City Planning Commission passed this proposal with the exception of one no vote, with the full knowledge that there was no environmental impact report or study required. How and why this occurred is remarkable to me and the residents in our community. At the very least, I believe this EIR should be taken before any further action takes place. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much. James Drummond.
First of all, thank you for allowing us to speak today in spite of the postponement. My name is James Drummond, and I live at 11911 Wagner Street. I've lived there for 53 years. I have many concerns about this project, and I'm in support of the appeal and the many points that are brought up in there. But I only have one question today. Why was not a full environmental impact report done before this project was okayed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen Knight. Right here. Tobian Mandel.
Hello, I'm a representative of the Del Rey Homeowners and Neighbors Association. We have been in touch with the neighbors in this specific area, and also have sponsored discussions with Thomas Safran and Associates. We are not opposed to low income because we actually are home to many low income projects in our area, most notably Mar Vista Gardens, so that is not our complaint. Our complaint is the fact the size of the project that's being put in, the fact that the environmental impact report was never concluded, never requested, and the fact that we seem to have in our area a rash of developers coming in, and I'm not blaming Mr. Safran about this because I have seen some of his other projects and they are quite nice, but we have had but they're in compliance in the areas that they're in. This one is not. Oops. And I guess I can't finish I'll finish my sentence real quick. Our area seems to be subject to a number of developers who have come in, buying property and then wanting it to be rezoned to greater density. We do not have any of the public facilities to support it. We don't have the so-called promised public transportation, and we're still reeling under the problems that we've had with the addition of Playa Vista in the way that the sewage system has to be redone, etc. We feel that while we're not objecting to the project, it's the size, the density, and the lack of the proper study on the impact that it's going to have. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 6 sentences, actually, now, finishing up there. Kathy Caviola. Kathy Caviola.
Hi. I'll let everyone speak about density bonus. I'm just going to speak from my heart. My name is Kathy Caviola. I am a second generation to the neighborhood. My father bought the house that I am now living in 1963. And most of us have been in that neighborhood for at least 40 years, and some more. And some of us are now living in the houses that our parents bought, so we have history. When we were finally informed as to what was happening, votes had already been cast, and decisions were made, but not by any one of us in the neighborhood. I know it's hard to take 10 steps back, and really decide what is best for the neighborhood when all you want to do is move forward. Let this be the one time that we just look back and see where the mistakes were made, and help us fight for our community and for our property. And if this goes forward, the neighborhood will worsen if this proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Moreno. Dan Moreno.
Thank you for the time listening to us. My biggest complaint is the developers.
You speaking to the microphone, please lift it up. Thank you.
Yes, my biggest complaint is the developers, as well as the committee council, never passed out any notification of what was going on. We finally showed up at a meeting after everything had been okayed by Planning Commission, as well as Councilman Rosendahl. You've heard all the others speak about density. It's completely out of character with the community, as well as the height of the proposed project. Nobody has yet managed or to mention about parking. Parking is an issue now, bringing in 178 units with, I believe, 102 parking units. Also entry and egress from the project through an alley that is going to be fronted by neighbors' apartments. Not to mention the impact of our neighbors not getting any sun. I'm lucky enough to be living one block over. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David Benitez.
Hello. I live on 11922 Wagner Street. I've been in the neighborhood for 31 years. I'm here because I support the appeal. I do not have any qualms about the quality of Thomas Saffron Associates buildings or low-income affordable housing. What I'm strongly opposed to is the density. It's too many people in too tall a building and too small a lot. I believe a 178-unit building on a 1-acre lot will negatively affect the community. It will congest traffic and reduce parking. Parking is already difficult on Wagner Street. Again, I'm not against the merits of this project, only its outrageous scale. It's too many residents stacked up too high on too small a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire Sassoon.
I got it right second time, Sassoon. Thank you. City Attorney, we appreciate your careful consideration of our case in light of the several cases that have been ruled regarding these off-menu density bonuses and water use issues. Let me request if you could email me 24 hours ahead of time. I can communicate with the neighborhood so that we don't show up to a meeting that is being continued. So please consider that. City Planning Commission, we believe this project is overdense and out of character with the neighborhood. No attempt has been made by the developer to work with the community in coming to a more reasonable plan. We need an EIR. We need professional eyes on this project to evaluate whether, in terms of the infrastructure, this neighborhood can sustain this project. We're talking about 124 very low income and 54 low income seniors. They're not going to need some help? Of course they are. And the neighborhood is just not ready for them. We need to have professional eyes on this project. Please consider the quality of life, not just of the people who live in the project, but also the neighbors as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment on this item. Again, this item will be continued to July 28th. Next item.
That would be item 13, Councilman, the Planning Department report.
There's no report on that item today?
Correct. There is no report today.
Great. Thank you. And that concludes this meeting. With the concurrence of my colleague, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Public comment, Council.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Do we have it? We have no public comment cards. Thank you.